Today's scripture lesson comes from the book of Luke, chapter 24, 1 through 12. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But they went in. They did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but he is risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again." Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with him who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and then they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. These are the words of God for the people of God. Thank you.
This morning, in a different way, we're going to hear the Easter story. Carla's going to present you Easter perspectives. It is a four-part story. You're going to hear from four different characters. The first character is Claudia. She is Pilate's wife. The second is Mary, Jesus' mother, as she watches him on the cross. The third character is a little different. The shroud that Jesus was wrapped in when he was placed in the tomb. And finally, Mary Magdalene as she comes to the empty tomb.
It's been such a long night. I haven't slept. I've had nothing but nightmares. I just feel like something horrible is about to happen. What is that noise? Oh, the crowd is coming to the palace. Looks larger than normal. These people are always dragging their problems to the governor. Every little thing they want a judgment on, but this is a little unusual. I don't think I've seen a crowd that large. And they seem very, very angry. Oh my, they're headed into the room. Wonder if I can hear them from over here, what they're doing. Oh, that can't be him. They've brought Jesus of Nazareth here. And they're accusing him of a crime? I have several handmaidens that I know have seen him preach. He preaches nothing but peace and love. Why in the world would they be bringing him here for a crime? Pilate's telling them that he can find no fault just because the man says he's the Messiah. It's no crime. I think they're just mad because they all treat the Roman Empire like it's a god. Oh. Pilate said because he's from Nazareth that he doesn't have any jurisdiction over him, that they'll need to take him to Herod. Now Herod happens to be in town because of the Passover festival, so maybe they will be able to catch him. I'm certainly glad. I would hate to see anything happen to him. Oh, not again. 2 hours and the crowd is back again. And this time they're angrier than ever. And they're calling For his death? They're saying that Herod has also found him innocent, but they are assured that he has committed a crime. Pilate has asked him if he has said he is the Messiah, and I think he said, "No, I didn't, you did." Oh, this group, they play a lot of games trying to trick him. I've heard a lot of that from the religious leaders. Surely they're not going to ask for that man's death. Servant, go to my husband right now. I have a feeling that this is what my bad dreams have been about. Tell him to have nothing to do with that man or his death. Go, quickly, run. The crowd, they're not even listening to Pilate. He's trying to explain to them that without a crime, there's no way for him to hold the man accountable. But they're insisting that he be crucified. Such a horrible death for a man who preaches nothing but love. Oh, there, tell him. I can see the guards. They're really getting worried about the crowd. No, nothing to do with it. Oh, that's an excellent idea. Pilate has now told them that it's been his custom to release a prisoner during the Passover festival, sort of a goodwill gesture from the government. And he's giving them the option between Jesus of Nazareth and Barabbas? Really? Well, surely there will be no question about that. Barabbas is an evil man. He was just convicted last week of several murders. He deserves to be in prison for a long time. Surely Jesus' followers and his friends are in the crowd, and they will ask for his release. And then it'll be over. But I can see the Pharisees and the Sadducees leaders in the crowd talking to people. That's not usual. Well, they won't even quiet down for Pilate to ask the question. Give us Barabbas? Oh, surely not. Pilate, ask him again. They didn't understand the question. You're asking who they want released. Barabbas. Well, what will happen with Jesus? The crowd is yelling at the top of their lungs, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" What has that man done that would ever deserve that? Oh, this is going to be a terrible, terrible day. Pilate is washing his hands now in the basin. I heard that before Jesus began his ministry, that he was baptized in the river by his cousin. And then I heard at a wedding in Cana, he changed the water into wine. And Pilate says that he's going to wash the blood off of his hands and that the people are responsible for this man's death. Such a tragedy. I don't think they know what they're doing. Where are they? Where are all his followers? Where are the disciples? his friends. And are we the only ones, Joanna, that have come? Just the women? I understand that his brothers and sisters didn't want to come today, but I wouldn't be anywhere else. That's my son up there. That's my firstborn son. I do not understand how we got to this place. He was preaching. He was going from town to town. He was healing people, performing all kinds of miracles. And now there he is, hanging on a cross like a thief. I don't understand. Are there any others here to support him? Are there any others that will cry out? I'm here. I'm here, son. And I love you. I'm here. Oh, John, I'm so glad you came. Where are the others? I guess I understand. They don't want to end up the same way. I thank you for being here. I know that he knows. I know. I hope he can hear us. The pain, it must be agonizing. They were so cruel, the way they drove those nails into him. And look at the way they're mocking him. They put a sign above his head, King of the Jews. They're yelling at him to come down off that cross if he's God, or God's son. Don't they understand what they're doing? And yet he prays for them. Oh, John, I remember when the angel came to me and she said that I was to name this child Jesus, that he would save his people. And I understood that I would have to give him up, but not like this. It was never supposed to be like this. Never. Not hanging from a cross like a worthless being. Oh, John, what happened? How did you all let this happen to him? You know, when we went to the temple when he was 8 days old, there was a prophet there that we were asking to do the circumcision and the blessing. And when we walked in, he held Jesus in his arms and he said that this child was what he had been waiting for his entire life. The Messiah, the chosen one, that he would see the face of God before he died. And then he turned to me and he said, "And a sword will pierce your own soul." John, there were many times throughout the years when I thought that had already happened. He was such a precocious child. And then when he was 12 and he ran away during the Passover festival and we lost him for 3 days, only to find him in the temple, sitting with the teachers, the scholars, the rabbis, teaching them and learning at their feet. I scolded him good for that one. But he said, "Why didn't you think to look at me in my Father's house?" He always believed. But this moment is what he was talking about. John, when he dies, a part of my own soul is going to die with him. It's just not supposed to be like this. This is not. They said that he was supposed to save his people. How can he save his people dying on a cross? How can he lead them that way? How can he teach them that way? I think he's trying to say something. Yes. Yes, Jesus. I will take John as my son, and he will take me as his mother. You do not have to worry. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be just fine. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And yet he prays for them. He prays for the thieves. He prays for the soldiers. No! Here's him. Why do you have to keep torturing him? He's going to die. Why? Why? Look at them gambling for his clothes right underneath him. Have they no shame? No, John, I don't want to leave. I can't leave him. Not yet. Not yet. Oh, God. He's crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me? He hasn't. He has not. He is with you. He will always be with you. Always. Always. Won't be much longer. No, it's not finished. It'll never be finished. It will never. Oh, God, I love you. I love you, my son. My owner was Joseph of Arimathea. I was made of the finest threads, woven tightly into a piece of linen, soft, stunningly white. And he carried me into the palace room to see Pilate. I was meant for Joseph's burial, but that is not how it was to be. He asked Pilate for this man's body, Jesus of Nazareth. Pilate said that it wasn't because he came and asked him for it, because he was a religious leader on the council, but because he felt the man was truly innocent and he deserved a decent burial. But it was so late in the day, he said, you'll have to have him buried today if you want to do that, before sundown. And swiftly, we began. We met up with Nicodemus, another religious leader, who was carrying a bag of spices, and up we made our way the hill of Golgotha, the place of the skull. There were moans It was truly a place of death, dark, dreadful. And there he was, on a cross between two other thieves. He asked for the body to be taken down, and the centurions helped. They laid his broken, bloody, beaten body on the ground. His mother fell over him in tears. And then they wrapped me sweetly and gently around his body. He was still warm, but I could feel his blood seeping through my threads, staining me bright red. They carried me, along with the weeping women following us, back to Joseph's house. And in a garden next door, on the side, there was a hill, a cave that had been hewn out. Again, I believe that was actually supposed to be Joseph's tomb. And they took us inside. It was cold and dark. And there were some rocks several feet inside the tomb that made sort of a shelf. And they gently laid us there. Nicodemus opened some of the spices and spread them. The scent was so sweet. It was not a proper burial, but the women told them that they would come back the first day of the week and prepare us officially. And then they left us. It was so dark, damp, cold. And they sealed the tomb with a large rock. Sometime in the night, I heard voices. I believe they were soldiers guarding to make sure no one came in. And then, before the morning came, something very strange began to happen. His body began to become warm again. He began to move. He sat up. He unwrapped himself. And he took me and shook me in the air. And when he did, I became white as snow again. And he lovingly folded me and set me back on the rock. All of a sudden, it was light. Warm sunlight light. And the stone moved. And he left. He walked away. I have been a follower of Jesus for over a year. I first met him as a young girl. I was getting water at the well. I had heard my father talk about this man who had been preaching along the riverside, and he had been taking many of the good fishermen and turning them into preachers and followers. And my father said no. No one was going to take his sons and he wouldn't hear of it. But the day that I met him, I was pulling the water up. It's the only thing that my family would allow me to do, because I was possessed by several demons. We had been to all kinds of doctors, and none of them could cure me. And I just didn't know what my life was going to be like, except going to get water every day. And it was a struggle, because most days I had a seizure on the way home. Sometimes I just spilled the water. Other times I broke the jar and would have to start all over again. But that day, when I had a seizure, he put his hand on my head and he cast out the demons. And when I came to, he said that would never happen again. He asked if I wanted to follow him. Such an interesting man. And the women and the men who were with him were like no other people I had ever met. He said that he'd be coming back through town soon, and that I could decide then. I spoke with my mother privately about it, and she gave me my dowry, because there was no way that any man would ever have me. And I secretly left one morning after my father went off to fish, and I joined Jesus. He was an amazing man, full of love and compassion. I followed him all the way to the upper room, where he and his disciples had their last meal. I followed at a distance in the garden that night where they arrested him. I followed him all the way to town, to the palace, and I watched as Pilate judged him. I cried out for him to be saved, but the cries of Barabbas were so much stronger. And I followed him as he struggled to walk up that hill while another man carried his cross. And I stood there as they nailed his hands to the cross. And I waited with his mother, John, Susanna, Joanna, the other Mary, the other women, and we waited for him to die. And when he took his last breath, the sky turned black and the earth shook in the middle of the day. And I was still there when Joseph came and they took his body down and they wrapped it. And we begged them to please let us give him a proper burial. And Joseph said we would, but he had to be buried by the end of today. Otherwise, they would feed him to the dogs. He said we could come back the first day of the week and prepare the body properly, but they had to get him in the tomb today. So we followed Joseph all the way back to his house so that we would know exactly where he was. And we watched as they laid him in that tomb and sealed it with the rock. The first day of the week, I woke up so early and I shook the other women and I said, let's go now. We'll be there by the time the sun comes up. And we ran all the way there. We weren't sure how we were going to move the rock. But when we got there, it was already moved. And I went inside the tomb, and his body was not there. We ran back into town to tell Peter and John, he's not there. His body is gone. Somebody has taken it. And they didn't believe us. They didn't believe that he wasn't there. And they ran, and we followed. They stood there in the empty tomb with no more answers than I had. And then they all left, except me. I stood there in silence. And then I turned, and there were two angels dressed in dazzling white, sitting on that very place where his body had laid. And they asked, "Why are you weeping?" And I said, "Because they have taken my Lord, and I don't know where he is." And they said, "He is not dead, but he is not here." And they disappeared. From the entrance to the tomb, I saw the gardener, and I went out and I said, "Oh, sir, if you know where or who took his body, would you please tell me? He is my Lord, and I must find him and give him a proper burial." And the man turned to me, and in a voice so familiar, he called my name, Mary. And I immediately knew it was him. It was Jesus. It was my Lord. He was alive. And I went to hug him and dropped to my knees to kiss his feet. And he stepped back and he said, "No, you cannot touch me, for I have not ascended yet." He said, "Mary, go. Go and tell the disciples that I have risen, and that I will go ahead and prepare a place for them, and I will meet them soon. Go. Go and tell Peter that I am alive." And I left the tomb, running all the way back, crying, "He is alive! He has risen! He is alive! He is alive! He has risen!" And it is a blessed day.